What if I told you there once existed an art so powerful? It was said to have been taught by gods. An art capable of forging weapons, building temples, healing bodies, and invoking spirits. Today, almost no one knows it ever existed. But the traces are still there, hidden, forgotten, buried under time. What happened to the hands that shaped the world? And why was this art silenced? What you're about to hear isn't in history books, but it changes everything. This story begins in an isolated village in southern India, surrounded by dense forests and sacred silences. They say a man named Narayan lived there, a direct descendant of a line of Templar smiths. But Narayan was no ordinary blacksmith. He didn't make weapons. He forged portals. Every object he shaped was a ritual. Every hammer strike, a prayer. Every sculpture, an invocation. Narayan said his ancestors learned the art of divine gesture from the devas, entities who walked among men. With their hands, they shaped not just metal or stone, but the very spirit of things. One night, a stranger arrived at the village. He sought a sacred sword, not to fight, but to remember, because secrets like these, when forgotten, leave men hollow. Narayan welcomed him in silence, led him to his forge temple, where embers never died and shadows seemed to watch. For 7 nights, Narayan hammered, without rest, without words. They say he wept as he worked, as if each strike brought back a piece of a broken world. When the sword was finished, it didn't shine, it didn't cut. But when the stranger held it, he fell to his knees. There, he saw images, voices, war dances, ancient chants, figures around the fire. It was as if the memory of the gods was etched into the metal. But this was just the beginning. In the weeks that followed, the stranger visited abandoned temples and sealed caves. In each place he found similar symbols, unknown inscriptions, and artifacts forged with the same hand. In a Tibetan monastery, he heard tales of soul shapers, monk artisans who carved statues meant to hold spirits. In ruins in South America, he saw familiar faces etched in stone, separated by 3,000 years. In every corner of the world, the same silent signature. As he traveled, the stranger realized something connected beyond space and time. An art that didn't belong to a single people, but to the essence of humanity itself. And the more he discovered, the heavier the weight of forgetting became. With each object he touched, visions returned. Entire peoples dancing by the fire, priests shaping symbols with colored sand, women chanting as they wove fabrics that told millennia-old stories, all with their hands, all part of something greater. In a desert in North Africa, he found what looked like a tomb. Inside, a figure carved in gold, not of a king, but of an artisan. At the feet of the statue, inscriptions in extinct tongues. But one stood clear. When hands cease to create, the gods sleep. When they return to touch the earth, the gods awaken. That same night, the stranger dreamed of Narayan. He was smiling. And behind him, others. Many. Men and women of all colors and ages, holding tools, instruments, books, weapons, and brushes, all shaping, all creating. The hands of the gods were human. When he awoke, the stranger was in his own village, as if time had folded. But something in him had changed. He began to sculpt, to draw, to teach. He didn't speak much, but everyone felt something in his work. An energy, a presence, something that couldn't be explained. And then others began to remember. A young woman began painting in trance. An old man started singing verses from a forgotten childhood. A child shaped figures in clay as if they had lived 1,000 lives. It was as if, by remembering with the hands, the soul returned. In the palm of the hand rests the soul of the craft. He who forgets how to create with his own hands forgets what it means to be human. Excerpt from an anonymous Vedic manuscript. And what if the true art of the gods isn't about mystical powers, but about remembering who we are through what we create with our hands? This story isn't just about blacksmiths or warriors. It's about you, about what you're forgetting, about what, maybe, you need to reclaim. The stranger discovered a village in the mountains of Japan where sculptors carved faces into living trees. The trees, they said, only grew where memory lived. Each sculpture told the life of someone who had passed, but who somehow still lingered. Watching the hands of the artisans, the stranger felt time stop. It was as if they were speaking with their ancestors, and he understood. To shape was not to create the new, but to give form to memory. In Morocco, he met an old potter who shaped vessels that were never sold. "They're for the dead," the man said. The pots held ancestral symbols passed down through dreams. The stranger helped mold one, and when he finished, he wept. It felt as if invisible hands had guided his own. He understood that this art was an invisible thread linking the living to those who had gone. In a cave in Greece, entire walls were covered with paintings of human hands, thousands, from different times, as if each generation had left its silent mark. The stranger placed his own hand there and saw images of the past, battles, dances, healings, births. And he heard a voice. "You are part of this story, too." A tribe deep in the Amazon held a ritual where children painted symbols on the bodies of elders using natural pigments. It was an exchange. Youth reminding the body of time past. The old smiled in silence. The stranger joined in. As he painted a face, he saw his own father, long gone, smiling through the lines. He felt art as a bridge between worlds. Finally, he reached a submerged temple in Southeast Asia. Inside, stone sculptures depicted gods handing tools to humans. It was the moment of transmission. As he touched one of the figures, the stranger saw Narayan one last time. "You remember now," he said. "Then teach." In the heart of the Peruvian mountains, he met an elder who played flutes made from ancestral bones. The sound made the stones vibrate. The old man said, "Each sound is a memory. Each note, a life, not lost." The stranger cried upon hearing a melody he'd never known, yet somehow knew by heart. In a forgotten Baltic village, he saw women spinning wool in total silence. When he asked why they didn't speak, one replied, "Our fingers tell stories, our mouths don't know." When he touched the fabric, the stranger saw scenes of love, war, and redemption. He understood that hands have their own language. In Nepal, amid snow, a boy drew mandalas on the ground with colored sand. When finished, he'd erase them with a single breath. The stranger asked why. The boy replied, "Beauty lies in remembering, not in keeping." And then he saw. True art isn't meant to last, it's meant to transform. In Siberia, a shaman molded masks from leather and wood. "Souls need faces to speak," he said. The stranger wore one of the masks and had visions. Tribal wars, ancient healings, sacred pacts. When he removed the mask, he was gasping. Something had entered or left. Returning to India, the stranger entered a cave where children silently sculpted clay figures. Each figure represented a dream. When he touched one, he saw every step that had led him there. It was his own story, shaped by children's hands. And finally, he understood. The lost art of the gods was never lost, only forgotten. If this story moved something in you, maybe it's because it was always inside you. Subscribe to the channel, but only if you have the courage to remember.